Welcome back to Final Score. Get ready to wrap up tonight's show. If you want to check out older episodes of Final Score, go to alaskasportschannel.com. And there's a link at the top of the page that says Final Score. Click on that. You can check out previous episodes of Final Score and also like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Final Score AK. Like that page. Stay in tune with what we're talking about. Share your thoughts on our Facebook page of what we're talking about here on Final Score. A couple of other things I want to get to before we end the show here tonight. The U.S. Open is this weekend. Of course, a lot of players from across the world coming over or going over to England to take part in the U.S. Open this season. And in years past, the U.S. Open, and I alluded to this at the top of the show, how big gambling and betting, not only on sporting events, but pretty much anything is in England. It's almost a way of life. Almost, I would say. It is a big, big deal. And you thought maybe Americans were big-time gamblers. I think the Europeans may have us beat. They'll bet on anything. I'm not saying that Americans won't, but they'll put money towards anything, I think. But anyway, you used to be able to bet, and players themselves used to be able to bet on the U.S. Open. You can bet on yourself. You can bet on somebody else. You can whatever. And this year, the U.S. Open, in their officials, made players sign waivers, I guess you can call it, that they would not bet on the competition, that they wouldn't bet on themselves, they wouldn't bet on anyone else. They can't do it. I don't know what the penalty is, but they were required to sign a waiver stating they will not place wagers on the championship. Multiple players talked about this to ESPN.com earlier today. The other interesting thing about this, though, is they didn't place a restriction on the caddies for them not to bet. So there's a loophole right there. If a player wants to place a bet, why not just give the money to the caddy and say, hey, walk over to that guy and, place the bet or whatever. If you're going to make a rule like that, whoever is involved with the U.S. Open, whether it's a player, tournament official, a caddy, whatever, you have to make that across the board. There's going to be gigantic loopholes in that. And as soon as I started reading this article, I was like, great, you made that rule for the players. Fantastic. They can't bet on it. What about the caddy? The guy that walks all 18 holes with them for 4 hours, right there next to him, what prevents, other than morals and ethics, the player himself handing $1,000 to the caddy and saying, hey, walk over to that place right there and place the bet on such and such? What? Whoa. Come on. You guys got to think about this clearly. Come on. That just doesn't sit well with me. And betting on sports, I don't have a problem with betting, but if you're a competitor and you're betting in a competition that you're taking part in, there's something wrong with that. Something wrong with that completely. You would have to assume players are more inclined to throw games, or a match in this case in golf. Let's say you bet on yourself, or let's say not bet on yourself, but you're taking part in the U.S. Open. You're taking part in the U.S. Open this year, and you and the other guy in the last group coming down to the 18th hole, and you bet on the other guy to win. You didn't think you would make it, all right? So you bet on Tiger Woods. It's you and Tiger Woods playing. And you bet on Tiger Woods to win. But you have a one-stroke lead going into the final hole. Well, I placed $1,000 on Tiger Woods, and I had, I don't know, some obscene amount of odds of not winning. What prevents you from throwing that so you can make money off your bet? Just to say that, maybe the money you bet would get you more than the payout of finishing in first or in second. See, that kind of thing. It just doesn't sit well with me. I understand that they're not telling the players, but if you're going to make a rule like that, you have to make it across the board for anybody that is involved with the U.S. Open period. Tournament officials, caddies, players, the grounds crew, I don't care what it is. Whoever is involved with the U.S. Open, you have to make that a rule across the board. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. Oh, by the way, here's an interesting story about this. Lee Trevino back in 1971 in the Open Championship, he bet on himself to win. He placed 100 pounds with 14-1 odds on himself, ended up winning. Other people bet on Lee Trevino to win, and he made, not only did he win, he got the winnings from the tournament, but then he got the winnings from him betting on himself. So people have done it, but now players have been forced to sign a waiver not to. One other thing before we get to Are You Kidding Me? I thought this was interesting. Major League Baseball, obviously on the All-Star break, time for Bud Selig to kind of reflect and talk about his goals for Major League Baseball. And he says his biggest one in his final year is to get smokeless tobacco out of the game of baseball. Obviously, with the recent death of Tony Gwynn from cancer, mouth cancer, and him passing away, this has opened up a lot of players' eyes and opened up the commissioner's eyes as well, and also the Players Association director, Tony Clark, as well. Both of these guys are going to work together, trying to make strides to reducing and ultimately getting the smokeless tobacco out of Major League Baseball. Bud Selig is expecting part of the negotiations in the new labor agreement over the next 2 years to involve the hope that smokeless tobacco would be banned from baseball. I'm all for it, to get it out of the game. I'm fine with that. I think baseball might be the only sport where you have players using some form of tobacco during game. I guess Warren Sapp probably did it when he played in the NFL, but I don't see anybody doing that anymore. I don't think any NHL players do it. I don't think there's no NBA players that do it, I don't think. During game. That's what we're talking about here. So when everybody's watching a Major League Baseball game and you see 10 guys having a dip in, they're trying to get rid of that. Not saying you can't do it on your own personal time, but they're trying to get rid of it from Major League Baseball, and I think that is a great goal, especially for the younger fans who watch baseball day in and day out, that they don't pick up the habit either. And I would not be surprised in the next couple of years during these Major League Baseball negotiations and labor agreements if that is not included in one of the stipulations for players to quit using smokeless tobacco. So just wanted to throw that out there, kind of interesting. Let's get to the Are You Kidding Me video of the day, if I can make it pop up here. Where did it go? And here it is. All right, they call it the Ring of Fire. This is a pretty cool video. Let me pause it here and make it a little bit bigger, but it's a bunch of guys at a pool party, basically, and what they're trying to do, they're passing the ball over the top of the pool, back and forth, and finally there's a guy over here. You can barely see him. He's going to jump off the trampoline through the Ring of Fire and dunk it into the basketball hoop. So I'll restart it, and here we go. So they're throwing it around. One more pass through the fire and the dunk. Oh, it's pretty cool. But anyway, I thought that was a pretty cool video to end on. Thanks a lot for watching Final Score here on GCI Cable Channel 19 and Broadcast Channel 35. Be sure you tune in tomorrow, Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We'll get you caught up on all the national sports headlines right here on Final Score. Thanks a lot to our producer, as usual, Charles Seigelman, for putting the show together. Does a great job every day. Tune in tomorrow. Good night, everybody.